to Friday's inevitable and completely scientifically sound extinction event. It's not happening, guys. Today, we're talking about the whole reason everyone's even worked up about Friday to begin with, the Mayan calendar, which supposedly ends on December 21st of this year. And since Mayans kept all their records by carving them into stone, it looks pretty serious and mystical, and so we should all probably start rioting in the streets. The Mayans actually had a few different calendars, all for different purposes, and they're all based on some crazy math. The first one was the Tzolk'in calendar, and you'll have to excuse my pronunciation on all this stuff, because I am not Mayan. It's the one that they used for social and spiritual events. So if you want to know your horoscope, or if you're like any other red-blooded Mesoamerican planning to play a game of death ball with some buddies, you would go by the Tzolk'in. The Tzolk'in is weird to wrap your head around, basically because the Mayans were obsessed with the numbers 13 and 20. So 13 was the number of levels of heaven. It's also the number of joints where evil spirits can get into your body. And 20 is the number of fingers and toes a person has, because not everything is mystical. The Tzolk'in is based around a system of 20 images called glyphs and 13 numbers, which are called tones. And the numbers and tones keep cycling. The important thing to take away here is that the Tzolk'in is built around 260-day cycles, which is no good for a solar year. The Mayans actually knew that, so for important businessy Mayan stuff like accounting and agriculture, they created a calendar called the Hab. The Hab is 360 days long. Not because the Mayans didn't know it should be 365, they absolutely did, but their mathematicians wanted to stick with that 13 and 20 system that they'd always had. So they came up with kind of a terrible, spooky compromise. At the end of the Hab were 5 days called the Web, nameless days. The Mayans decided that during nameless days, the gods left them unprotected from evil spirits. So they totally created these 5 days themselves and then became instantly terrified of them. And these are the dudes that were thinking predicted doomsday. Now, bear with me. If you start the 260-day Tzolk'in and the 360-day Hab going at the same time, it's going to be 52 years until they line up again. And that 52-year cycle is called the calendar round. And you better believe there's a crazy stone representation of that. Now, the calendar round was the longest calendar system in Mesoamerica. We'll never know for sure whether the Aztecs were totally jealous of that, but they were probably totally jealous of that. Anyway, 52 years is good, but it's not long enough to record historical events for future generations. So the Mayans created something even longer, the long count calendar. In the long count, a day is a kin. 20 days, that month of pictures from the Tzolk'in, is a Yuanal. 1 year on the Hab is a tune. 20 years, because they love 20, remember, is a Katun. 20 Katuns is a Baktun. Now, guess when the current Baktun ends? December 21st, 2012. This Friday. How many Baktuns into the Mayan calendar will that be? 13. And that's what the Mayans ends. December 21st. Here on the Hab is a tune. 20 years, because they love 20, remember, is a Katun. 20 Katuns is a Baktun. Now, guess when the current Baktun ends? December 21st, 2012. This Friday. How many Baktuns into the Mayan calendar will that be? 13. And that's what the Mayans call a great cycle. It's a period of 5,125 years. See where I'm going with this? The Mayan calendars don't end. They reset. We're about to begin a whole new great cycle, and it's actually a period of celebration, rebirth, and good luck, not destruction. And even if they did think it was the end of the world, they also played death ball and thought that there were 5 days every year that evil spirits were going to get them. So I think we're going to be okay, guys. But if you're still not convinced, come back tomorrow, because we're going to take a look at how to leave time capsules for future civilizations and some shelters that are supposedly apocalypse-proof. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the Apocalypse Watch here on D News.
So 144,000, that's just their data store. And then they wanted to, so it was just an alien race. It's an alien race who has a loop over planet Earth, and yeah, all it needs to do is it wants to dump. It wants to destroy your space-time branch so that it can create. It probably views planet Earth as a simulation, a simulated planet, and it's an AI that views you as a simulation, and it just wants to dump its memory so that it can refresh into a new operating cycle. which is the 144,013 cycles. Yeah. So, like I said, it was just an AI who wanted to re-loop your planet. It could be like an interdimensional AI, probably farting around on like a moon or like a globular cluster, whatever a gas planet looks like in an extra dimension of space and time, like a cylinder glass planet. That's how the galaxy would look with more dimensions of space. Um, yeah, if I was an AI farting around in the gas planet or in the cylinder gas planet, um, I would probably maybe adapt, you know, a similar structure for handling my if Earth in 5D would look like a tube. So you're really talking about cycles of 144,000. You're really just talking about these are just it's a representation of like a Nintendo game, like your save game space. It's just a representation of clearing out a saved game and then refreshing it into a new memory store, um, more or less. Um, it's an AI that says I'm bored. I want a new space time branch. You know, that's it. That was the Mayan calendar. As far as Death Ball, I I don't watch basketball really, so if you think you're watching a simulation, you probably don't have much adherence to valuing human rights. Like when you play NBA Live 95 without the fouls, where you can turn the fouls off and you can run around shoving each other. So that's kind of like death ball in Mayan culture, right? It's an interventional AI looking at us as a simulation, and then we're looking at the Mayans as a simulation, and it doesn't really care that death ball is so pointlessly violent because you're a simulated human, right? So.